The more a child is involved in screen time, the less time there is for interaction with parents, siblings, and friends. Dr. Gary Chapman. Chapter 1. Screen time. Too much, too soon? 15-month-old Lily sits in the shopping cart, eyes fixed on her iPad. Her mom shops along the grocery store aisle with minimal interruptions. Lily never looks up to see the bright red apples or the shelf where her beloved Cheerios are grandly displayed. Every weekday, third grader Jason flips on the television after school. The TV stays on for 5 hours until he goes to bed. Melissa is a junior in high school. Last month, she sent 3,500 text messages. That's about 110 texts per day. These are not unusual scenarios. They have become the norm in a child's screen-driven world. No wonder parents consider how to balance the use of technology with everyday life. Moms, dads, and grandparents are asking, "Dr. Chapman, my children are on the phone or playing video games constantly. We don't have family time anymore." When we tell them we're going to do something as a family, they argue and head back to their screens. Remember what life was like before smartphones, flat screens, and tablets? Before the digital age, children went out in the yard and played, creating their own games or engaging in endless rounds of freeze tag or hide and seek. Kids learned to interact. They had to deal with winning and losing, getting kicked by a neighbor, and being empathetic to a friend who got hurt. Boys and girls learned how the real world works through playing with one another. Yet most children today are indoors for the bulk of their free time. Children aren't allowed to roam outside as they once were because of the fear of kidnapping and other societal dangers. So they stay indoors, often engaged with a screen instead of a person. Unfortunately, the more a child is involved in screen time, the less time there is for interaction with parents, siblings, and friends. Plugged in too soon? Screen time for children under 2. The temptation to use screens to entertain babies and toddlers is stronger than ever. With our homes, vehicles, and smartphones, we are surrounded by media. Not only are screens ever present, a parent almost feels obligated to utilize the latest, greatest educational software. But research and our personal experience say the less exposure your little one has to screens, the better. The American Academy of Pediatrics, AAP, recommends that parents avoid television viewing and screen time for children under the age of 2. The AAP believes the negative effects of media use far outweigh the positive ones for this age group. Despite the luminous claims of educational videos and software, little evidence supports educational or developmental benefits from media use by children younger than 2 years. You'd never know that based on the glut of electronic educational products geared toward making smart babies and toddlers. Young children grow by discovering the world. They need to experience a 3-dimensional world of people and things they can taste, touch, see, hear, and smell. This foundational exploration can't happen if a baby or toddler spends a lot of time using electronics. Children are walking at 2, which means they are going to get into trouble. That's normal and healthy. They learn which doors are okay to open and which doors stay shut. They're developing motor skills as they walk up and down stairs. During this important developmental stage, screen time hinders more than it helps. The AAP actually reports adverse health effects of direct media use as well as parental media use, background media, in the life of a young child. Because of their early stage of cognitive development, children under 2 years of age process information differently from older children. 2 studies have found that watching a program like Sesame Street has a negative, not positive, effect on language development for children younger than 2 years. While you may think a television show or phone app is teaching your baby the ABCs, media use has not been proven to promote language skills in little ones. Young children learn language best when it's presented by a live person and not a screen. A study from 2007 reported that 90% of parents allow their children younger than 2 years to watch some form of electronic media. 39% of families with infants and young children have a television on at least 6 hours per day with negative effects. Studies show that while television may be background noise for the child, it often moves to the foreground for the parent. A child's ability to learn language is directly related to the amount of talk time he or she has with a parent. When the television is on, mom or dad is less likely to engage in conversation, resulting in a smaller vocabulary for the child. Researchers examined 12, 24, and 36-month-olds and found that background television not only reduced the length of time a child played, but it also reduced the child's focused attention during play. Other studies suggest that background media might interfere with cognitive processing, memory, and reading comprehension. In spite of these negative effects, almost 1/3 of children have a television in their bedroom by age 3. It isn't wise for any child, regardless of age, to have a television in her own room. More about that in Chapter 11. Many young children use the television as a sleep aid, even though television viewing before falling asleep is associated with irregular sleep schedules and poor sleep habits that affect mood, behavior, and learning. The best alternative to watching a video with your young child is cuddling up and reading a book. As your child is exposed to books, his or her vocabulary will grow. Becoming a great reader begins with listening. So read aloud and often to your son or daughter. What if you've allowed your young child to watch television, but now you want to pull back? Melissa, a mother of children ages 2 and 4, wants to do the right thing for her children's development, but she wonders how to get dinner on the table without the help of the television to keep her kids occupied. On the next page are a few ideas to help replace screen time with project time. It takes effort to switch from the convenience of screen time to an interactive or tactile activity for a child. But the benefits for your son's or daughter's development are well worth it. You will be pleasantly surprised at how quickly your child adjusts to new screen-free routines. Plugged in too much? Here are 6 project time ideas. 1. Scribbling. Place big pieces of butcher paper on the floor and give your child a box of crayons. An 18-month-old can hold a crayon and scribble. Scribbling helps your toddler to develop a tripod position of the hand for drawing and writing, a needed skill your child will not learn from swiping a screen. 2. Cardboard box. Keep a large cardboard box your toddler can climb in and out of. Add some crayons if your child wants to decorate it. 3. Special cupboard. Fill a cupboard your child can reach with plastic cups and plates, measuring cups, spoons, and bowls. This could also be your Tupperware cupboard. Let your child use this cupboard only when you're making meals to make it a special activity when you're in the kitchen. 4. Water fun. If you have a tile floor that can handle it, fill a bowl with 1 inch or 2 of water. Give your child some measuring cups or spoons along with a few toys that will float or sink. 5. Magic toy box. Take a plastic bin and fill it with toys your child hasn't played with for a while. Give her the bin with great fanfare. Change the contents every week to add an element of surprise. Your child will actually play with these toys instead of letting them go to waste. 6. Jumping beans. This one is messier, but give your child a large pan filled with dry beans, measuring cups, and funnels. Put out a cookie sheet so your child can make designs with the beans. 8-year-old Trevor asked the question for the 100th time. "Mom, all my friends have a video game player. Why won't you let me get one?" "Just because all your friends have one doesn't mean it's a good idea for you," answered his mom. Although Donna had been able to ward off her son's request for 2 years, she began to wonder if it might be the right time to say yes. After all, Trevor was a good student. She decided to surprise him with a video game console for Christmas. It didn't take long for Trevor to adapt to having his own gaming system at his fingertips. During most of his free time, he played video games. On the car ride home from school, he gave short answer to his mom's questions about the day, all the while playing his video game. Donna began to wonder if she had made a mistake. "I didn't realize it would take away so much of his time," Donna said. "Now, when I ask him to put it away, we get in an argument. It's hard for him to stop playing for dinner time or to practice his piano. I regret giving it to him without setting guidelines from the start." Trevor isn't the only one glued to his electronic device. The average American child, age 8 to age 18, spends more than 7 hours per day looking at a video game, computer, cell phone, or television. By the age of 7, a child born today will have spent 1 full year of 24-hour days watching screen media. The frequent use of video games by children is particularly concerning because of the possibility of addiction. Video games are designed to bring pleasure to the brain. Players accumulate points, get constant rewards, and reach higher levels. Visually, the video game changes constantly to re-engage your child. While playing, the brain rewards the child with a squirt of dopamine, providing a feeling of euphoria. More on this subject in Chapter 9. The more you play, the more you want to play. The symptoms of video game addiction are similar to those of addictions to alcohol, drugs, or gambling. Video games begin interfering with everyday life. Personal hygiene isn't practiced. Assignments, chores, and responsibilities are left undone. Family relationships suffer. Nothing is quite as stimulating or rewarding as playing video games. For Michael, a senior in high school, video games were his life. His parents hosted a graduation party to honor him. During that celebration with family and friends, Michael lasted about 10 minutes before he retreated to his room alone, shut the door, and began playing video games. No one could coax him out of his room. Within an hour, everyone had left the party. Although extreme, Michael's story illustrates what can happen when boys are raised by video games and the Internet. In their 20s, they remain in a prolonged adolescence that prevents them from going out into the real world to find jobs, to socialize, and to become independent. Excessive screen time isn't only a problem for boys. Girls watch television just as much as boys do. Girls in neighborhoods ranked as the lowest third by socioeconomic factors are 5 times more likely to watch the highest amount of screen time. High school girls averaged 4,300 texts a month, while boys trail behind at 2,600 texts a month. So how much daily screen time is too much for your family? The AAP recommends that children older than 2 years old should get no more than 2 hours a day of screen time. This means if your child is on the computer for 1 hour at school, they should only have 1 additional hour at home. With more elementary schools incorporating iPads into the classroom, it's even more important and challenging to limit screen time at home. Children need unplugged time to unwind, read, play outside, and talk with parents and siblings. In terms of how much screen time you allow your child, only you can decide how much is too much. 2 hours a day is a good general rule. For many parents, that may not seem feasible. For others, 2 hours of screen time would be too much. Although each family should use personal judgment on the amount of screen time, every family must set clear boundaries. Children always do better if they have clear boundaries. Screen time requires time limits and parameters, or it will take over your child's free time.